I struggled through my academics for a really long time. When the movie Tare Zameen Par came out, at the end of the movie, I can see my parents sobbing. They realize that our kid is actually going through the exact same things. While swimming the English Channel, around 2 to 3 hours, my right leg's hamstring tendon ruptured. After 10 hours, I started to get that zone of hypothermia. I stopped communicating with people on the boat. Only one assisted swim that has been done before was by me, which was from Mumbai to Dhanu beach, which is 140 kilometers in 5 days.
एक नॉर्मल लाइफ से एक डिफरेंटली एबल्ड लाइफ में आना, अपने आप को समझाना, देन देयर आर क्वेश्चंस, ओह व्हाट हैपेंड, तो वो जो ट्रॉमा every time I had to this, now I am habitual of it. जो सिख नोशन है, that is हिंदूज को हिंदुस्तान मिल गया, मुस्लिम्स को पाकिस्तान मिल गया. सफ़रर्स कौन थे? द सिक्स. हर एक रिसर्चर इस चीज़ को फील करता है कि शायद ये पार्टीशन ना होता तो थिंग्स वुड हैव बिन डिफरेंट. लोग जो है वो बच्चों को इसलिए भी बाहर भेजना चाहते हैं कि उनके बच्चे ड्रग से बचे रहें. तो सक्सेस का वे जो है वो ईजी आउट कभी भी नहीं होता. हो सकता है मेरे ये जो स्टोरी शेयर करने से या इंसिडेंट शेयर करने से बहुत बच्चे ऐसे होंगे जो मोटिवेट हो सकते हैं. ईजी लाइफ तो किसी की भी नहीं है, बट द थिंग इज़ कि एटीट्यूड कैसा लेके चलना है, किस तरह से फाइट बैक करना है.
Namaste, Jai Hind. Welcome to another edition of ANI Podcast with Smita Prakash. This episode has two conversations recorded in two different cities. It is a story of two individuals who overcame disabilities to rise and achieve success. The first part features Shubham Vanmali, who overcame his neurological condition to conquer the seas, while the second story is about Dr. Shefali Chauhan, who didn't allow her physical disability to become a roadblock in her way to success. Shubham has several national and international swimming expeditions to his credit. He swam the English Channel, the Strait of Gibraltar, Catalina Channel, Manhattan Marathon Swim, Gateway of India to Dharamtar. 26-year-old Nerul resident Shubham received the prestigious Tenzing Norgay National Award in Adventure Sports by the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Government of India, from President Draupadi Murmu. But wait, there's more to him than that. Listen in. Hey Shubham, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. I'm very happy to have you here because I love having young achievers because it motivates others to know your life story, the challenges that you face, the achievements. So let's begin right from the beginning. How it all happened for you?
I was a little kid and my parents, I got detected by asthma and doctor suggested to swim. And when I was a kid, my father used to work in Bharat Petroleum, and there was this clubhouse in Chembur, and it used to be our picnic. And
I learned how to swim in that pool, by the way.
Oh yeah,
yeah, long back.
Yeah, and it was a beautiful atmosphere. Like there was a lot of greenery, the pool, and we used to go there every weekend and to just have fun and understand the sport, just swim for the fun. And the only thing that motivated me there was the omelette pav from that canteen over there. That was the only motivation by the end of the week for me to go there, and that's how the swimming journey began. And later on, Nerul Gymkhana had started this unique, it was unique for back then.
No, wait, let me get back to this about your asthma. Most people would think that parents would not put their kids into swimming or into sports, right? If their kid had asthma, because that is the general thing that people think that, बच्चे को प्रॉब्लम है हेल्थ में तो स्पोर्ट्स में मत डालो, पढ़ाई में डाल दो.
Yeah, but it actually helps you build up that aerobic capacity. Swimming is a sport where you have to concentrate on your breathing a lot, and you have to hold your breath, you have to release your breath properly on timing, and there's so much subconscious breath work happening during swimming that it builds up your lung capacity. And I remember back then as a kid I had asthma, and then later on as I grew up I never had any issue with asthma.
So which age was this? How old were you when you started swimming?
I was somewhere around 6 to 7 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, I was very young one.
Go ahead. You were talking about Nerul.
Yes, and then Nerul Gymkhana had started this unique program where they were taking kids and making them go through a battery test. And through that test, they were situating them in specific sports.
What is a battery test?
So the test for ability of an athlete or a kid which sport would he be better at?
Hmm.
And as per the physical attributes of that kid, the kid goes into a specific sport. And I was selected in football at first, and then but already the Gymkhana team was big, and the kids were older than me. And then they asked me, "Is there any other sport you know that you can do?" I said, "Swimming. I can swim," and that's where I started swimming. And that was a unique thing where they were not charging anything for it. They were just planning to develop athletes in 2005, looking at the future for 2010. And that mission was called Mission 2010, the 2010 Commonwealth Games. They wanted to build athletes from 2005 to represent India at the Commonwealth Games. And that's where that my swimming journey started, where I understood how to swim properly, how to professionally swim. And I was still young during the Commonwealth Games. I did not make it. But then that at least gave me a push towards swimming longer distances afterwards.
Competitive level swimming.
Yes.
Okay. So now, while you're doing this, there is a problem with learning disability also. So how did that happen? When did you figure out that, or did the school figure out that you have some kind of a disability?
So as I grew up, I still remember I struggled through my academics for a really long time. And I think when I was around 8th standard, that's when the movie Tare Zameen Par came out. And when the movie came out, we were sitting in the theatre, and at the end of the movie, I can see my parents sobbing, and they were crying. And then I was enjoying the movie, and they realized that our kid is actually going through the exact same things. But the only difference was my parents never pushed me, never forced me to do something to like get better at sports or get better at studies. They will always like just enjoy it. And for like when I started swimming professionally, like competitively, for 4 years I had no medals, only participation certificate. And every time I used to go to the competition, I used to come back just with a participation certificate. And dad used to always be like, "It's okay, we'll do it again, we'll do it again." That way I went 4 years, a lot of peer pressure around. And the issue was around when 8th standard went by, when we did some test at Sion Hospital and at Drishti. And then we realized that I have dyslexia, dysgraphia and ADHD. And that too that late in academics. So when a kid is actually going through something like this, the person's self-esteem takes a major hit. The person's ability to interact is already hampering because of this. And in school days, I remember there was always a fog in front of me while communicating. I couldn't vocally put out there what I wanted to say, and I couldn't understand or else process it properly what they are telling me. And after that, when we got to know that I have dyslexia.
This was only regarding academics, or did you feel this in other spheres also, that you couldn't comprehend properly?
Yes, there's a misconception that it only affects academics, but it affected me through the entire, like, all my life, throughout. In my swimming, because I couldn't understand, I couldn't process what the coach is trying to tell me and what I'm supposed to be doing. And after that, I remember around 8th, 9th standard, when we came to know this, we knew what the problem is, and my parents were like, "Okay, we know the issue. Now we need to have a plan of action, and we need to work on it." And that's when I was introduced to IPH, where Dr. Nadkarni's institute, where it's an institute of psychological health, and that's where counseling started for me. And the drastic change in everything, from a kid who was constantly getting just passing with the grace marks around 35%, 30%, and to a kid who just miraculously just went to 72% in 10th, and from a kid who was barely going through district, started to perform at states, started to go for the nationals. It just took me a 1 year's time to take that leap, and things just took a turn for me. It took a turn in some terms of self-confidence. It took a turn in terms of my ability to cope up with things, and constant counseling helped. We had 2 different counseling sessions where we were introduced to something like sports counseling, where Shubhangi Datar madam was sports counseling me, and then there was a counseling for studies, and it just made a lot of things easier for me, and all the extra energy which was not going anywhere started to channelize in one direction, and the outcome was insanely good. And yeah, and after that then we went for the English channel, State of Gibraltar, and the progress happened.
So when who decided that counseling is needed? Is it the school that advised you, or is it the sporting arena teachers who told your parents that you need counseling? Who decided for you?
So back then it was a taboo, and till date somewhere parents are a little hesitant to accept the mental illness or else any kind of disability. And back then my mom and dad were very open enough. They were like, okay, there's nothing to hide in this, we will work on this. And they were the one to push for the counseling sessions. In fact, I was asked to go to a special school, but they were like, no, he will be studying in the regular school, we will take a counseling session for him and we will work on it.
So how does the time figure out? Because school ka kaam bhi hai, counseling bhi jana hai, sports practice bhi hai. In one day, there's only so much time, right?
So as a kid, the schedule used to be insane. I used to wake up in the morning, go for swimming practice for like 2 hours in the morning from 6 to 8. Then straight away from the pool, we used to go to the school. And we used to finish the entire school till around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and come back to the pool, have a dry land session where we do a lot of exercises. And at 6, we used to again swim. And at 8, we used to get over with it. And then after 8, you have an extra class, because I couldn't go for classes because it used to be another school. So we had a personal tutor who could make me understand properly. And that really helped. And then that used to happen. And I was like a kid with a lot of energy in me. And at the end of the day also, I wasn't tired. And that kept on happening, which actually today helps me a lot. Because no matter how difficult the entire day is, it's what I have been doing since a kid. And it just helps me throughout the process. So
there's this mental block, and as you say, even today, to take, even if a family member knows that there is a problem in another person, first to convince that person to go for counseling is a big task. Second, log kya kahenge? What will family say? What will extended family say? Neighbors say that there is a problem. Now, was it your mom, was it your dad, or was it both of them together who said and gave you that confidence that your life will be better if you take counseling?
I was still a kid, so I never understood what was the if it was a taboo or it wasn't a taboo, because they made me feel so comfortable with it. And they never treated me special also at the same time. They were never like, oh, you have some issue.
You have a sibling?
Yes, I do have a sibling.
So it was the same?
Yes.
Okay.
And they were always making me feel normal. And counseling session just became a part of my life. And I remember from that day till today, I have the same counselor. And it helps me on my day-to-day life. And we used to have once a week session. So people still need to understand that this is a very important part of any human being, where that person gets to speak out what the person is going through without being judged on it, and get a proper guidance. And that is the major reason I am able to succeed in my sport, because my sport is all about mental toughness. The physical attributes are fine. Physically, you can be as fit as you can, like the fittest in the world. But when it comes to being there in that water, being completely hypothermic, feeling like you're gonna just not survive the end of the swim, or else going through the jellyfishes, or that fear of a shark being around, that thing can only come by mental toughness. And the counseling actually helped me throughout that process.
Okay, so now let's talk about the sporting journey, right? So at what stage do you realize that, okay, I can win medals? How old are you, and how much of your training has come in by now?
I was in 9th standard. I still remember that day. That day still gives me goosebumps, because the competition was in Nagotne. It's further away in a rural area. and I was going there for last 4 years, and I used to enjoy that process of being there. And competitions are usually like a picnic as a kid, and that was the only outing our family ever got. And I was there. I had a 400 free event, and I just went for it. And that day I decided, like, and this was post me being detected and our counseling session starting and everything. And I was mentally very relaxed at this point in life. I was enjoying my moment. I was enjoying swimming. I did not care what people are thinking about me. Oh, he's swimming for 4 years and yet he doesn't have a single medal. And I did not care at that point. Just went for the swim and I stood second. And I was myself surprised that I stood second. My father was so happy. My mother was so happy. And my father is actually a national volleyball player. And he is also a national coach. And so is my mother, a national kabaddi player. And that's when my dad was like, okay, now I am going to train you for your physical fitness. And I was a very chubby kid then. And that training started, and the transformation from being a very chubby kid to being a very fit kid was drastic. And this all is happening during that time when we have been detected, we are doing constant counseling, and things are clearing up to me. I am being more vocal, I am being more happy, and I have that self-confidence in me. And that's when the sporting journey started for me. And slowly, as we were swimming, we started to do longer distances in competitive swimming. We started to do 1500 freestyle, 800 freestyle. And then one fine day, we got an opportunity to swim in Ratnagiri at an open water swimming competition. And it was my first open water swimming competition, and I was fourth in that. But other than being fourth, the best part was enjoying that thing. Like, in that water, you're all by yourself. The swimmers have gone away. The few are ahead, few are behind me. And just enjoying the nature. You can feel the water. The water feels very different than the swimming pool. And that adrenaline just kicked in. And even though I was fourth, I was very happy after the event. I enjoyed that. And then we also started to realize, we did one more longer event in Kolaba, Navy's competition. I was second in that. And it's a national competition. And I again enjoyed it a lot. And then we realized that as the distance gets bigger, I am getting better than others in this.
Ah, okay.
And then we started to push it more and more and more.
By we, you mean you and your coach?
Me and my family.
Your family. Okay.
Yes.
So they are the ones who kind of know your comfort zone and know how much you can explore.
Yes.
So you're working as a team with your mom and dad right now.
Yes. So even though this is an individual sport, there's a big team behind me, which helps me go through this. Like the major part is played by my mom and dad. Obviously, they are the ones who know me very well. And after that, there is my coach at the moment, which is Rupali and Aniruddha. Rupali herself being a person who has swam the English Channel at the age of 13, one of the youngest, and she having that experience. Then Shweta Rao ma'am, which is a physiotherapist at Physiokinesis. They constantly look after my well-being. After if I am going to get any injury, it's a lot of prehab rather than a rehab.
If you are going to get an injury,
yes.
So you have to prepare for not many people would know that there's something called a prehab and a post-hab. I mean, everybody that I know goes for a post-hab.
Yeah.
So as sports persons, there is a prehab. So please explain the two things that are there.
So to avoid getting injuries in future, your body needs to be functioning like it's a car. The car needs to be fine-tuned. Okay. And how do you fine-tune that? It's by going to a physiotherapist and making sure you do a assessment and making sure all your parts are well functioning. For example, lot of swimmers also don't realize that they are having a shoulder impingement, where the shoulder gets a chronic pain, and which happens because of the scapula being released, scapula having not enough strength to hold on to the shoulder and shoulder falling forward. And when you see a lot of people slouching like this.
Yeah.
Yes, so that happens because of back not being strengthened enough. And you have to do a lot of exercises for that. And that's what the physiotherapy does is, they assess it, they realize which part is weak and which part needs to be worked on. And this way, we avoid getting injured at all. So we can train at our maximum potential.
So did it happen to you? Did you get injured in your sporting events?
A lot of time before getting this idea of how physiotherapy works, I still remember multiple injuries. So while swimming the English Channel, it was a very brutal weather. I was swimming through it, and around 2 to 3 hours, my right leg's hamstring tendon ruptured.
Oh.
And I couldn't move it at all. And at that point, I was just thinking about what all is in my control and swimming through it. And then I had both my arms and my one leg. So I'm swimming with it. And around 5 hours in the English Channel, while taking a feed. So every hour we take a feed from the boat. We are not allowed to touch the boat. So we have to float and have our feed in 20 seconds, give that feed back and start swimming again. So feed can be anything like a water, like a carbohydrate drink or a gel. And while having that, the weather was so bad, the boat came onto me. The boat goes on neutral and gear. And the fan was still rotating and it hit my other leg.
Oh.
And at that point, both the legs are not working. And
you will sink like a stone.
Yeah, the lower body completely drops, and I still had my shoulders, and we were still going strong after that. And I remember going through all the jellyfishes at 6 hours, and then that's when the mental toughness also comes in, where you can pull your body to a certain limit at your physical strength. But once that strength is over, once that energy is over, what are you going to do? That's when the mental energy kicks in. That's the end energy which is required. So till 10 hours, it was all physical strength. I had that in me because I have trained for 8 hours before in the pool.
10 hours you're in the English Channel with 2 legs not working now,
Yes.
on only arms working.
On only arms.
Goodness.
And
okay.
after 10 hours, I started to get that zone of hypothermia where your back is turning blue, your lips are turning blue, you're slowly feeling the dizziness, you slowly feel your body shutting down. And I stopped communicating with people on the boat because every feed my father was asking me, "Are you okay, Shubham?" And I used to say, "Yes, I'm okay," so that I'm communicating with them and they know that hypothermia is not kicking in yet. And towards the end, after 10 hours, they realized that he's not speaking back. And I'm not making any eye contacts over there. I'm just swimming. At that point, mentally, I was just like, conserve and just finish the swim. And I was very stubborn for that swim. And after that last 2 hours 42 minutes, I pulled completely on mental strength. Like, I don't have to collapse. I have to keep swimming. I have to put my head down. I don't have to look up. That's the most important part of English Channel. You do not look up to
Why?
finish. The horizon plays tricks with your mind. If you start the English Channel, from the start itself, you can see the white cliffs at the end because of the horizon. And you can see the big mountains in front of you. And it feels like, okay, it looks very close. But you're swimming for hours and you're not able to reach. If you keep looking over there, that's going to play a mind game with you that I'm not moving ahead. And that's a rule number 1 of English Channel, that never look up. And that's something I was keeping like in my mind, and I was just swimming. And so this is where the mental toughness came in, and this is how other swims also go by.
So this English Channel, at what age did you do?
I was 18, first year of my degree college. And
so you completed it?
Yeah.
And then rehab was needed for all the injuries?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And till then, even
was it worth it, you think?
Yes. It was 100% worth it. The feeling of lifting the Indian flag in UK on 4th of August, I still remember the date very vividly. This is something money can't buy. This kind of happiness is something you cannot acquire without lots and lots of hard work and lots of love from all the people around you. And this was not only a pride moment for me, but the entire family and entire swimming fraternity, that after a long time somebody had swam the English Channel. Back in the day, it was Taranath Shenoy sir, it was Anita Sood ma'am, it was Rupali Repare. There was an era of open water swimmers doing this open water swims, and people have read it. And back then the media was also like full of newspapers, and people used to read their name. And suddenly that era again started now. And
This was 2014.
2014, yes. And that's when we began that era. And now the open water swimming community has grown so much more than what it was back then.
So you've done Strait of Gibraltar, and after this was after the English Channel.
There's a funny story behind it. Strait of Gibraltar, English Channel is formed on 4th of August. I go back home. I am completely demolished. I can't move. My mother is literally feeding me because I can't lift my arms.
The arms are also gone by now.
By now, body is not working at all. I'm just tired, just collapsed. The body doesn't have any energy. I need to refuel a lot to get back and get back standing. And I remember after like couple of days after swimming the channel, my father called up Gibraltar's president, the association president, Rafael, and he was like, 14th of August is the best date to swim. After that, there's a cyclone coming, and there's gonna be crazy wind, and you won't be able to swim for a month. We cannot afford to spend that many days in Spain. We come from a middle class family. We know how we have acquired that fund to go there and do that swim. So my dad said that, okay, I'll talk to Shubham. Let's see what he's saying. Spoke to me. I was like, okay, we'll go there. Let's see the situation. And dad checks our visa, and it is from 14th of August. It starts from 14th of August.
Oh, so there's no time to prepare there.
Yes, there's no time to prepare there. And we fly there. I remember the journey.
Didn't you need surgery for the hamstring?
No, I did not. We just did a lot of rehab after that because didn't have any... and I did not know till then it was ruptured. I came to know afterwards. After coming back to India. From UK, we flew to Spain. After reaching there, my father gave the phone to the president, Rafael, and he spoke to the cabbie because we didn't know Spanish. And he spoke to him, and he took the cab straight to the starting point of the swim. I hadn't eaten anything. I was really hungry at that point because of all the traveling. And we didn't even have a place to stay because our booking was from 20th and we were planning to swim it on 26th of August. And he asked me, what do you want? I'll get you everything, but you have to swim right now because we have predicted that the winds are going to increase in few hours. So we don't have time to waste. I was like, okay, fine. And I just get me banana and water. Have couple of bananas, get that water. Very frustrated. I was angry because I wanted to do this swim in a very leisure way because it's a 16-kilometer swim. I wanted to do this swim with a lot of time in my hand and recovered, fresh swim. But I wasn't recovered. I was just angry. And I remember in a counseling session, I was being told how to channelize your energy into constructive way rather than destructive way.
Even anger.
Even the anger, especially the anger.
Okay, those who are leaving nasty comments on YouTube, just listen to this. You can channelize your anger in a good way. Okay.
Yeah. And for example, if you take an example of Zinedine Zidane, that anger caused his team to lose at the FIFA finals. And again, you take an example of Yuvraj Singh. His anger caused the record of 6 sixes.
Yeah.
And so that's what was taught to me. And I channelized all that anger into one swim. I put my head down. I just swim like a madman. I don't stop at all. I just take 2 feeds in the entire 16-kilometer swim. And we make the Asian record in 3 hours, 16 minutes by swimming the Strait of Gibraltar.
Superb. Excellent. So now, when you say you channel, so sometimes you have positive thoughts, sometimes you have negative thoughts, and you channelize that into positive action, both of them.
Yes.
Right? What is it that you do? Is it if I may ask, is it a chanting, is it a deep breathing, or is it a combination of various things that you do?
I just close my eyes. I think about my surrounding. I can think about my senses, what I feel around me, the touches I have right now, the sounds around me. And I try to calm myself down with that, just focusing on the sounds, touches, smell, all the sensation, and just visualize a positive finish. myself finishing that swim at the way I desire. And I wanted to do the Asian record. Asian record was made by an Indian and earlier also, and I wanted to break that. And that was the one thing I was channelizing back then. Till date, I channelize all my swims with a very positive outcome, and I don't think of any negative outcomes in that. Just think of how the finish would look like.
So there's no fear of failure that you have?
Fear of failure was there at the starting of the career, where once that excitement, starting was an excitement, and then slowly, then that pressure came on, the media came on, like the awareness started about, oh, there's a kid who's been doing these swims. Not only nationally but internationally, swimmers started to know me. That's when that fear came in, that what if I fail? And that was a phase where there was a lot of pressure on me. And then one day I realized that I am doing this for myself. I am doing this because I love to do it. I love to be in the water. I love to do that swim. I love that adventure. It's an adventure sport. And then that fear just disappeared for me. At that point, I did not, like, I knew every swim is going to be successful after that. And that's how it has been.
So you were talking about your mental makeup. Initially, when we started speaking, you said your dad was helping you in your physicality also, your physical well-being, because you were a chubby kid.
Yeah.
So now you tell me, at what point did you decide, okay, enough of eating the wrong things, I'm going to eat the right things, and I'm going to eat it at the right time. So what were the right things and the right time, and how difficult was it to get physically fit?
To be physically fit, one thing I realized in this entire process, that if you're physically fit, you're mentally also fit. You feel better. You tend to have that movement better, and you're overall happy in general. And I started to just, it was very simple thing, but it looked so difficult back then, that eat at home is very basic. Eat what your mom is giving, and typical Indian food, chapati, dal, rice, veggies, everything. And that was a start for me. And it was cooked by my mother, and you know how it's cooked. You know the like, eating outside and eating at home has a huge difference. You realize it after you go through that process. And I went through that process in between my career also, where everything got so much that I couldn't take care of myself. And then I used to again rush into that, again dieting and getting back into that zone. And by going to that zone, now I realize that how important it is to be fit throughout, especially for an athlete.
So consistency is very important.
Very important.
Physical and mental well-being, consistency. You can't get on a diet and binge for 10 days and then get back on a diet. No, it has to be a steady kind of a thing. So eat at home, eat sensibly. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And portion control, was that important?
Yes, portion control is important. I never personally had a problem with portion control. I eat what I've been served, and that was it for me. But it is important. And
But your mother was doing that.
Yes.
So was it like just a vegetarian diet? Was that because you need protein, right?
Yeah.
So most people think कि protein तो vegetarians के पास protein नहीं आता.
No, it was a mixture of everything.
Everything.
But it was not only non-veg.
Supplements?
Supplements, yes. Once I reached that level, that's when the supplements started. Once I was at a peak where I was swimming really fast, I was swimming really long, that's when the supplements started. And it's a difference for an athlete and a normal person. When also to understand the fact that you don't get enough nutrition right now through the current lifestyle we are having, and the current vegetables that are out in the market, current food that are out in the market.
So the micronutrients and all you need.
Yes, like
extra.
Basic multivitamins, and also something like vitamin D, vitamin C. All these things need to be absorbed by the body, which in current lifestyle we are not able to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you're at the peak where you're winning medals and you're going into competitions, and then COVID strikes, right? So how did COVID affect your sporting career and of others also, in like you, because suddenly everything stops. 2 years of nothing.
it was very challenging. For swimmers, feel of water, we call it a feel of water, is very important. The reason why a strongest man cannot be a fastest swimmer is because of the feel of water, which is acquired after years and years of experience and years of grinding through that process. That was lost by every single swimmer out there. And staying at home, we started to be a little more creative at this point, where we were taking weights. We bought some few weights, we bought few gym equipment and started to work out at home. But yet that one thing, swimming, was missing, and it did affect a lot mentally also, because the body is so used to having swimming as a break, as something to get away in a daily life from. And it took a hit. But fortunately, my mom and dad were still working. They were essential workers, bank and petroleum company, they were still working. So I had to go to drop them. So that was one way I was able to get out of the house, at least to drop them. But other than that, it took a major, it pulled us back in sports fraternity in general. And to come back from it, it was very, very difficult. As an Indian kid, every kid goes through those phases. For example, when it's 10th standard, a kid stops the sport. Then if there are 100 kids who are doing that sport, 50 manage to move past that
to get into a good college.
Yes. And
mostly it's that, because you need funds, you need all kinds of things to get into competitive sports.
And after getting into college, if they start to swim again, because 10th, to prepare for 10th, they have already left swimming.
Yeah.
Now they are preparing to start, like they are starting to swim again. Again 12 strikes. Again a person stops swimming or stops that specific sport. Then after that, the degree college strikes, where the entire atmosphere changes. And for us, we have been through that. A swimmer who's at the age of 27 has already been through that and somehow managed to survive through that and come over here. And for us at this age, again, COVID striking.
Yeah.
That reminded me of my days when after 10th standard, starting to swim again after 2 months of gap. And then after
that
12.
feel of water which you're talking about is also psychological. Psychologically, it's important for you, right? To feel that water next to your skin.
Yes.
It's not just being physically fit. It's that mental makeup where you need water.
Yes.
I mean, that is your thing.
Yes. Swimming is a extremely skill-based sport. Its fitness is there, but skills are more important. Skill of holding the water is very, very artistic, you can say. Of grabbing the water in a perfect way that you can propel forward. And that will only come by doing it again and again. That will not come by mimicking it outside the water on the land. So that was going back and swimming again was very difficult.
Okay. So what about support structure? You've talked about your fitness people, you talked about your counselors, your parents. What about support structure of friends? In your initial years, did they say, "Arey, medal to jeetne rahe, kya kar raha hai? Why are you doing this? Why don't you get into cricket? Why don't you get into something else?" I mean, that's what most kids do, right?
Yeah.
Success or interest or a career path or whatever is seen by achievement of physicality, like a medal or a win in a match or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it was difficult. And as a kid, things can be very difficult, more intense than we can think now. And I remember 4 years, I used to go to the pool. There used to be some kid or the other saying, "ये तो इतना साल से swim कर रहा है, इसको तो अभी तक एक भी medal नहीं आया है." But home was a safe space for me. I felt like it was a safe space. I used to go there, and they used to comfort me. They used to be like, "It's okay." My father never wanted me to be a very good athlete. He wanted sports to be there in my life as a support system and as something a kid does other than his school or college. Something he wanted me to have that throughout my life, but he never wanted it to be something like I choose as a profession. It was just a support system for me. And because he always said that a kid who would go to the ground or go to the pool will have more energy and capacity to study than a kid who doesn't. For example, if a kid goes and studies all day, scores an 80%, 90%, and a kid only studies 2 hours an hour, but who's an athlete, but he would still get 60, 70, 70, 75%. So at the same time, he's also developing his well-being. So that's the reason I was in the sport. Not to
So,
be
tell me, which tourney gave you the most pleasure, or the most satisfaction, or felt that, okay, there's a reason why I've worked so hard for this, it was for this moment?
It was very recently when I received the national award from the President of India. That feeling was a feeling where it gave me goosebumps. My family was there. They were crying. They cried throughout the ceremony for every single award, like the Arjuna Award, Dronacharya Award, and we received the Tenzing Norgay Award for adventure sport. That's where when President Madam came in and stood, and we sang the national anthem together. Everybody sang the national anthem. That feeling that put me back in my school days, in my competition days, where we used to stand and sing national anthem together, and straight to now. It was just like a very dramatic flashback for me. And that's when I was like, this is all worth it. This is absolutely worth it to get an honor from the President of India. And it felt very fulfilling. And it has been like that in stages. When we received the Shiv Chhatrapati Award, that was a feeling when I felt like, okay, this is worth it. The national award, yes. Or else a kid coming up to me and saying, oh, you are my inspiration. That's an achievement for me. I still remember there was a kid in Gandhi Bal Mandir who went for a storytelling competition, was in 3rd standard, and won the gold medal in that storytelling competition, where she told my story.
Oh.
And I received a WhatsApp forward of a girl talking about my story. And that's when I felt, okay, this is a very touching moment. And this is something like, if I am able to inspire other kids, if I am able to inspire other people to do better and to am and like an idol for them, then what else do you want in life other than this?
Yeah. And, what I find fascinating is you keep saying, we did this and we won this, because you don't see it as your single achievement at any point, do you? You see it as a team.
Yes.
Your mom, your dad, you.
Yes. After the President Award, we conducted a gathering, and where we invited every person who has been through the journey with us. My dad's colleagues, my mom's colleagues, then my dad's friends, mom's friends, my friends, and every single person, my old coaches. I have been through a series of coaches. All of them were invited over there. And for the first time, an amphitheater was in that club. Was the staff told us that it was full. And it was full for so long. And I was surprised. The event started at 7. People were talking about how they supported, how proud they felt, and they were there till 10:30. And
Because it's very hard to diagnose the kind of issue that you had, the learning disability. Very few schools have that ability, or very few parents have that ability to gauge that, okay, this child of mine has this issue. First, to gauge that. Second, to have the resources to deal with that, and to have the mental makeup to deal with that. 3, to convince your child to go to get help.
yeah.
To be able to afford that help on a continuous basis. And then to surmount that. You have gone through all those stages in life. So if you were to give back, or if you were to talk to children or to parents, what would you say to them?
You should not consider this as a taboo. This every child is a gift which is waiting to be unwrapped. You should look at it like that. Some unwrap early, some unwrap little later. And it's okay to not be okay at times. And you should accept that. And the reason I am what I am is because my surrounding, my support system accepted that and we worked on it. And a kid who's going through dyslexia, going through dysgraphia, can do things that you can't imagine. I support an NGO called Atman Academy, and it's an NGO for learning disabled kids. And these kids, I went to their annual day, their sports day. They were so good at what they do. Some are painters, some are singers. When they came to that academy, the founder Manjushri ma'am was telling me that before coming there, the kid who sings very beautifully, because after she was diagnosed, or else during the school era, in the school she wasn't accepted well, and she stopped singing. Then there was a kid who stopped painting. They came to the school. They felt like they were welcomed. They felt the love, and that girl sang so beautifully. And I have seen their paintings over there, and the transformation of a kid completely changed. Like, it becomes better. So if any parent out there is going through that phase of feeling what my kid is like, it's not okay to be like this, they have to accept it, and that's the only way that kid will be able to live a proper life.
Build the self-confidence.
Yes, building the self-confidence is the most important thing in this.
And seek help.
Yes.
Because sometimes parents are busy. They have a livelihood. They have to go to work. They have to earn a living. They have to pay fees. They have to do all that. So sometimes seek help, right?
Yes.
There are professionals, even not necessarily expensive. I'm sure schools also have, most schools have some kind of counseling.
Yes.
So whatever is within the budget, but get help. Is that what you would suggest?
Yes, nowadays a lot of schools have evolved in inclusive teaching, and there are counselors in the schools also. It's not necessary it will be to accept this and to work on this is going to be very expensive. There are government institutes who work in a subsidized rates also, so they should go for it, and whichever state they are from, they should seek help at it, and that's the way your kid will be a better person and will be happy. That's the most important. The kid will be happy.
So finally, I have to ask you this, that you lead a very, I won't say regimented, but very disciplined life, because physically and mentally you need to be fit to win your medals, to achieve what you have to. So what do you do for relaxation? I'm sure that is also a very important part of your mental makeup.
Yeah. For relaxation, I don't get to spend time with my friends that often, because throughout the day I'm either training in the gym or at an event or something like that, and I would chill with my friends, just or else go for a drive all by myself. There have been times where I've just drove to Nashik and just enjoyed the scenery and come back in a day. And yeah, driving and relaxing with the friends and letting that pressure go off, because my counselor told me that to relax is really important. You cannot be stiff always.
So like, is there meditation, yoga? Do these things actually help? Because I've heard physical fitness coaches say that there is this return to, doing things the natural way, like yoga and fitness, and to get back to eating healthy Ayurveda suggested diets and things.
Yeah, I go through that process in a day where I keep my phone away, sit at a place and don't do anything, just close my eyes, focus on breathing, and like I said earlier, focus on the touches I have around me.
Mindfulness.
Mindfulness.
Okay.
And just concentrate on the breathing. And once I open my eyes, I feel fresh.
I've tried it. A million thoughts come into my mind. Ye bhi karna hai, ye bhi karna hai, ye bhi karna hai. And it's a hyper excited mind at something like that. So that stillness is something that one has to learn how to do, right?
Yes.
How long does it take to get to that stage?
It takes quite some time. It took me, because I am again a hyperactive kid. It took me more than a month or so, but to constantly do that. Now I'm doing that every chance I get. I would be sitting in the car if I'm going for a meeting or going for practice. I'll sit in the car and I'll do it in the car itself. I'll just close my eyes and focus on my breathing in the car. And if I am before sleeping, I do that. Every single chance I get, I do that, because the strain on your head, you can feel that go off.
Yeah, I believe so. That's what I've heard. And I've heard most sportsmen say that they're so bombarded with images, with goals, with ambitions, with things to do, that they need these breaks where they can be just quiet with themselves. And even artistic people say that they need that time to recharge their batteries. So how many competitions in a year would you, international competitions?
Since COVID, now we are again for the first time getting in the international waters. After COVID, it was too difficult to get into other country and doing the swim. And plus, was it worth so much of a hassle and going there with that mentality?
And you weren't getting visas and all also.
Yes, and it would have been too much of a strain.
So now it's just picking up?
Yes. And
so what are you looking forward to now?
So I'm very excited for this one, especially because we are doing a swim in South Africa. We are going to swim the Falls Bay. And Falls Bay is infamous for 200 plus great white sharks.
Oh, goodness.
In that area. And it's a 33-kilometer swim. And it's going to be as cold as the English Channel, which is around 11 to 12 degrees. And I'm just extremely excited. And we'll be doing it in March, around somewhere after 20th of March. And later on this year, we are doing something that no Asian has ever done. Only one assisted swim that has been done before was by me, which was from Mumbai to Dhanu Beach, which is 140 kilometers in 5 days. And this year end, we are going to swim from Goa to Mumbai for 15 days.
Oh.
Yeah. So this is going to be big.
That's endurance to another level. Okay. All the best to you, Shubham. Please don't get eaten up by sharks and do the long distance. We hope to see you win all this, and wishing you success for all of it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Namaste, Jai Hind. Welcome to another edition of ANI Podcast with Smita Prakash. This episode is being filmed in Amritsar in the state of Punjab. Punjab has always been a source of interest for people who study and document history. And that's not just because it's a frontier state, but also because Punjab is one of the oldest cradle of civilization in the world. And by Punjab, I don't mean just Indian Punjab, but also that part of Punjab which went to Pakistan after partition. To discuss the state of Punjab and its socio-economic condition today in a historical context, we have with us Dr. Shefali Chauhan. She's a professor at the Department of History at the Guru Nanak Dev University and teaches ancient and medieval history to her students. Professor Chauhan has turned as a student counsellor and a motivational speaker due to an accident which took away life from both her hands, and she had to get her left hand amputated after she went through a kitchen accident during her college days in 2005. Shefali ji, thank you so much for being part of this podcast. Since we are shooting this in Amritsar, I want you to give us a little bit of information about this city, क्योंकि हमारे बहुत से जो सुनने वाले हैं या दर्शक हैं, they may not know much about Amritsar besides the fact that this is the place where the Jallianwala Bagh massacre happened, and it is home to the Golden Temple. Besides that, they would think that it's a place खाने पीने का जो शौकीन है, they know it as the home of Kesar Ka Dhaba, or they know it that street food here is fabulous. Lekin there is more to this. There's more to this city. So if you can tell me a little bit about as to when this city was laid, what were the foundations of this city?
बिफोर आई स्टार्ट आई वुड से कि जब हम अमृतसर की बात करते हैं तो अमृतसर एक शहर है जो ज़्यादातर लोगों की नॉलेज में है कि एक ऐसा शहर है जहाँ पे रिलीजियस सिख श्राइन है. लोग ज़्यादातर इसीलिए यहाँ पर, और ये सिख श्राइन इसलिए भी लोग विज़िट करते हैं क्योंकि ये एक ऐसा रिलीजन है जो हर रिलीजन को वेलकम करता है. इट्स नॉट रिस्ट्रिक्टिंग एनीवन कि ये आ सकता है, ये नहीं आ सकता. इनफैक्ट द 4 doors also are open in 4 directions. That also means कि everybody is welcome. Apart from that, it's very beautiful also. उसके अलावा जब हम अमृतसर को देखते हैं तो हम देखते हैं कि अमृतसर एक इसलिए भी बसाया गया क्योंकि ये एक स्ट्रेटेजिक लोकेशन में था. एक ट्रेडिंग हब बनाया जा रहा था. ट्रेडिंग हब किस तरह से कि जब हम देखते हैं इट वाज वेरी नियर टू लाहौर. तो हम यहाँ पे देखते हैं कि जब गुरु रामदास जिस शहर को बसा रहे हैं तो हम देखते हैं कि वो ऑलमोस्ट 52 शॉपकीपर्स जिनको वो इनवाइट कर रहे हैं कि वो बिज़नेस के लिए यहाँ पर आए, यहाँ पर सेटल हुए. तो जैसे जैसे ये शहर बस रहा है, ये एक रिलीजियस प्लेस है जहाँ पर बहुत लोग आ रहे हैं, तो धीरे धीरे देखा जा रहा है कि जितने भी ट्रेडर्स हैं या बिजनेसमैन हैं उनको भी अपॉर्चुनिटी मिल रही है यहाँ पे ग्रो करने की, फ्लरिश करने की. तो इट्स नॉट रिस्ट्रिक्टेड कि पंजाब में जब लोग यहाँ पर आकर सेटल हो रहे हैं वो किसी एक कम्युनिटी के हैं. नहीं, ये अलग अलग कम्युनिटीज़ के हैं. वो कश्मीरी भी हैं, वो सिंधीज़ भी हैं, और इवन द गुजरातीज़ ऑल्सो. तो हम देखते हैं कि अलग अलग रिलीजियस कम्युनिटीज़ के लोग भी जो बिज़नेस के पर्पज़ से यहाँ पर आ रहे हैं और यहाँ सेटल हो रहे हैं और इसको एक बहुत बड़ा ट्रेडिंग हब भी बना रहे हैं कहीं ना कहीं. यू मस्ट हैव हर्ड अबाउट गुरु बाज़ार ऑल्सो. देन देर आर सराफ्स ऑल्सो, क्राफ्ट्समैन ऑल्सो. दे ऑल वर इन्वाइटेड कि यहाँ पर आएँ और यहाँ पर आकर वो बसें.
So let's now get on to the colonial part of Punjab. You've seen that we celebrated the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Since independence, how do you see this region? Like, does it want to delete its link with its past? There are some places which don't want to be known or don't want to be reminded of its conflicts of the past. They want to wipe out, they want to look forward. आगे की सोचना चाहते हैं. They don't like to think and be reminded that their past has been one of conflicts, one of invasions and things like that.
Definitely it is there that for example if we talk about the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, many people have this feeling they don't want to remember that incidents, and many of them have the feelings whenever you read literature you feel like अगर मैं इसकी जगह यहाँ पर होता तो what I would have felt. Similarly when we talk about the partition also. तो जब हम कलोनियल पंजाब की बात करते हैं तो कलोनियल जो पंजाब है वो एक ऐसा पंजाब है जहाँ पे हम देख रहे हैं एक पहले ट्रेडिशनल सोसाइटी रह रही है. ट्रेडिशनल सोसाइटी जिसमें हम बात करते हैं कि यहाँ के लोग जो हैं दे आर लिविंग इन विलेजेस, दे आर सेल्फ सफिशिएंट. उतना ही प्रोडक्शन हो रही है जितनी उस विलेज को ज़रूरत है. धीरे धीरे हम देख रहे हैं जैसे ही हम एनेक्सेशन की बात करते हैं 1849 में कलोनियल रूल से, तो हम देखते हैं लोगों में, चाहे वो हिंदूज़ हैं चाहे वो मुस्लिम्स हैं, मुस्लिम्स वर नॉट इन फेवर ऑफ द ब्रिटिश रूल बिकॉज़ उनको लगता था कि मुसलमान जो है कम्युनिटी वो एक रूलिंग क्लास थी और कहीं ना कहीं उनकी वो जो सुप्रीमेसी है वो कहीं ना कहीं लॉस्ट हो गई थी. सिमिलरली जब हम बात करते हैं हिंदूज़ की, तो हिंदूज़ जो हैं वो उसमें से भी हम 2 तरह की मूवमेंट्स को देख रहे हैं, कल्चरेटिव एंड ए कल्चरेटिव मूवमेंट, और इन अदर वर्ड्स वी कुड से इज रिफॉर्मेटिव एंड रिवाइवलिस्ट मूवमेंट्स. तो कुछ ऐसी कम्युनिटीज़ हैं या कुछ ऐसे लोग हैं जिनको लग रहा है कि जो कलोनियल रूल आ रहा है, जो वेस्टर्न एजुकेशन आ रही है, दैट इज़ इन फेवर, जो कि बात कर रही हैं कि सोशल ईवल्स को सोसाइटी से इरेडिकेट किया जाए. फॉर एग्जांपल द सती प्रथा, द फीमेल फीटिसाइड एंड द कास्ट सिस्टम. इस तरह के जो सोशल इवल्स हैं, तो उसको भी जब हम सोशो रिलीजियस रिफॉर्म मूवमेंट्स के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से देखते हैं, चाहे वो आर्य समाज है, चाहे वो ब्रह्मो समाज है, चाहे वो सिंह सभा है, ये सारी जितनी मूवमेंट्स चल रही हैं वो या रिफॉर्म्स के लिए चल रही हैं या रिवाइवल के लिए चल रही हैं। रिफॉर्म्स के लिए जो मूवमेंट्स चल रही हैं उनको लगता है कि जो वेस्ट की एजुकेशन है, जो वेस्ट की एजुकेशन है, दैट वुड इम्प्रूव देयर सोशल एंड इकोनॉमिक पर्सपेक्टिव्स, और उसके साथ साथ उनको लगता है कि जो हमारी सोसाइटी में सोशल इवल्स प्रिवेल कर रहे हैं उनको इरेडिकेट किया जा सकता है। तो सिमिलरली जब हम इसी में मुस्लिम्स को देखते हैं, दे फील दैट दिस इज़ एन इंटरफेरेंस इन देयर कम्युनिटी, कि अगर हमें रिवाइव करना है अपनी कम्युनिटी को तो हम खुद रिवाइव कर सकते हैं, कोई बाहर का क्यों आ रहा है रिवाइव करने। सिमिलर इज़ द हिंदूज़ फीलिंग कि अगर हमें रिवाइव करना है, अगर हम बात करते हैं कि सती प्रथा जो है, अगर हम बैक टू एंशिएंट टाइम्स बात करते हैं, हम वैदिक एज की बात करते हैं, हम अपने शास्त्रों की बात करते हैं, हम देखते हैं वहाँ पे वुमेन एजुकेशन है, हम वहाँ पे सती प्रथा का मेंशन नहीं किया जा रहा है, और वहाँ पे फीमेल फीटिसाइड नहीं है। तो दे जस्ट वांट कि हम अपने ही इस धर्म को रिवाइव करें। जब हम रिवाइव कर रहे हैं तो दैट मीन्स हम इन सोशल ईवल्स को इरेडिकेट करें। वहीं पे जो रिफॉर्मिस्ट है, दे बिलीव कि वाकई में जो वेस्ट की एजुकेशन है या जो वेस्ट के आइडियाज़ हैं, दे आर गिविंग लिबर्टी, दे आर गिविंग इक्वालिटी, दे आर गिविंग फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच, तो वो उसको अपनाना चाह रहे हैं। तो हम देखते हैं जब पंजाब में ये जो बिहेवियर है वो एक मिक्स सा बिहेवियर है कि कुछ उस चीज़ को अप्लाई करना चाहते हैं अपनी लाइफ में, वेस्ट की एजुकेशन, वेस्ट के आइडियाज़ को, कुछ क्या करना चाहते हैं, कुछ रिवाइव करना चाहते हैं अपने पास्ट को।
Do you see कि आजकल भी ऐसे ही चल रहा है that the reason why so many youths, hundreds of thousands of youth every year want to travel abroad, migrate abroad, ये उसी का नतीजा है that this reason of wanting a better life in the West?
बेटर लाइफ अगर मैं कहूँ तो मुझे लगता है कि शायद लाइफ जैसी यहाँ है ऐसे ही स्ट्रगलिंग वहाँ पर भी है। इट्स नॉट दैट कि वो एक बड़ी अच्छी कहावत है, दूर के ढोल सुहावने लगते हैं। तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि जो यूथ है, यूथ का जो माइंड सेट है, बिकॉज आई एम इनटू टीचिंग प्रोफेशन, तो जब नया सेशन शुरू होता है तो मेरा पहला सवाल यही होता है कि क्या करना है आगे। तो उनका मोस्टली जो है जवाब यही होता है, मैडम कनाडा जाना है, मैडम ऑस्ट्रेलिया जाना है, मैडम हमने यूके जाना है। तो बहुत कम ऐसे बच्चे हैं जो कहते हैं हमें यहाँ पे स्टे करना है। उसकी आयरनी एक ये भी है कि यहाँ पे एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी नहीं है।
ट्रेडिशनल जो ऑक्यूपेशंस थी ऑफ से एग्रीकल्चर वो नहीं करना चाहते,
वो नहीं करना चाहते हैं। वन कि उसमें उनको एक इंटरेस्ट नहीं है, एक इट्स अ हार्ड वर्क है ना। तो एवरीबडी, और उसके बाद ग्रीन रेवोल्यूशन ने कुछ एग्रीकल्चरल कम्युनिटी को थोड़ा वेल्दी भी किया, तो दे डोंट वांट कि वो एग्रीकल्चरल लैंड, और ऊपर से अगर हम देखते हैं एग्रीकल्चर को भी, इट्स नॉट दैट फ्लरिशिंग, इट्स नॉट दैट पेइंग ऑल्सो। तो ये भी सर्टेन रीजंस हैं। देन एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी इज़ अनदर रीज़न कि बच्चे बाहर जाना चाहते हैं। एंड अनदर रीज़न आई पर्सनली फील इज़ कि बच्चों में एक मोटिवेशन नहीं है। मोटिवेशन इन द सेंस कि अपनी कंट्री में रहने का उनको, या अपने पेरेंट्स के साथ, क्योंकि हमारी अपब्रिंगिंग ऐसी होती जा रही है। आई स्टिल रिमेंबर व्हेन आई वाज अ किड, आई सी दिस जनरेशन गैप इन 10 years और 20 years। अदरवाइज़ वो जनरेशन गैप यूजली 40-50 years का होता था, जो वो जनरेशन गैप हम आजकल 10 और 20 years, इवन 5 years में भी वो जनरेशन गैप देख रहे हैं। एवरीबडी वांट्स प्रिवेसी। आई स्टिल रिमेंबर कि जब हम छोटे होते थे तो रिलेटिव्स आते थे तो घर में सारा सामान बाहर करके नीचे गद्दे लगा दिए जाते थे। एंड नाउ व्हेन यू वांट टू विजिट योर रिलेटिव होम, यू फर्स्ट सी दैट यू हैव अ रूम, you have a guest room, or we should have a arrangement in a hotel.
But this is something which is there in all parts of the country. It's not specific only to Punjab. लेकिन सिर्फ पंजाब का यूथ है जो is not satisfied. I'm not saying that one has to be satisfied with what is there and not seek for more. I'm not saying that. But there seems to be this urge of going in इन लार्ज नंबर्स, जो बाकी में नहीं दिखता, बाकी राज्यों में सिर्फ पंजाब में ही दिखता है, दैट देयर इज दिस थिंग. सिंस यू आर, you have done gender studies and you're an expert on socio-economic conditions, कुछ ऐसे socio-economic conditions या gender bias है या जो भी है, that men and women want to go, both?
Men and women both want to go. It's not that कि जब आप देखते हो कि सिर्फ men ही है जो जाना चाहते हैं. अब अगर आजकल आप प्रेजेंट सिनेरियो देखो तो बहुत बार ऐसा हो रहा है कि women are more into education. तो वो क्या है, यूजुअली क्या हो रहा है, लड़के कम पढ़ रहे हैं और लड़कियां जो हैं वो ज़्यादा पढ़ रही हैं. जितनी एडमिशन्स हो रही हैं, ज़्यादातर लड़कियां एडमिशन्स ले रही हैं. उसके बाद
फॉरेन यूनिवर्सिटीज़
में फिर वो अपने हस्बैंड को स्पाउस वीज़ा पे ले जाती हैं.
Which used to be the other way round, right?
Which used to be the
I mean,
other way.
15-20 years ago, one
Exactly.
heard about those cases जहाँ bride ढूंढने के लिए आते थे. The men used to come and यहाँ पे वो, and then there was that subjugation of women जो NRI brides की बात थी, वहाँ पे जो atrocities होती हैं उनके ऊपर. But what you're saying now is that the trend is changing.
The trend is changing, and this change is, I think, seen in 10-15 years only.
They come back for the spouse from India.
Yeah.
जो इंडिया से लड़कियाँ फॉरेन कंट्रीज़ में जाती हैं पढ़ने के लिए
दे टेक स्पाउस अलॉन्ग. और इनफैक्ट आजकल ये भी एक ट्रेंड देखने में आ रहा है कि जो लड़के की फैमिली है वो उसका एजुकेशन का खर्चा, और इफ़ शी अप्लाइज फॉर अ परमानेंट रेजिडेंसी, वो सारा खर्चा लड़के की फैमिली, बिकॉज दे वांट कि अगर लड़का नहीं वो एग्ज़ाम क्लियर कर पा रहा है या उसको एडमिशन नहीं मिल रही है, और लड़की अगर बहुत ब्राइट है और उसको एडमिशन बाहर मिल जाती है या उसको परमानेंट रेजिडेंस मिल जाती है, तो उसका सारा खर्चा भी उठाने को, मतलब आई हैव सीन, बिकॉज दिस इज़ ऑल हैपनिंग. तो बहुत बार ऐसा भी देखने को मिलता है, और ख़ासकर ये ट्रेंड आजकल बहुत ज़्यादा पॉपुलर हो रहा है कि विमेन जा रही हैं और वो अपने साथ स्पाउस को लेकर जा रही हैं.
Is it worrying at all, or is it something that should be encouraged? कि there's one way to say कि हम brain drain हो रहा है. Smart women who should be in the workforce in India, and in Punjab are going abroad, and that brain drain's happening. The other way is that they are going abroad. Why not? Encourage people who want to go and become part of the diaspora outside, and they encourage or they send back money. वो भी होता है
एक ये भी रीज़न है कि लोगों को एल्योरमेंट. अगर आप इधर जलंधर साइड या दोआबा बेल्ट देखो, बहुत लोग हैं जो NRIs हैं, और जब वो बाहर रह रहे हैं ऑब्वियसली दे आर अर्निंग गुड, या वो बहुत ईयर्स से वहाँ पर है, तो वो क्या है, यूजुअली एक शो ऑफ के लिए अपना बहुत बड़ा घर बना के पंजाब में छोड़ देते हैं. तो वो जो आसपास के लोग रह रहे हैं उनके लिए एक इंस्पिरेशन होती है कि हमारा बच्चा बाहर चला जाएगा तो शायद हमारा बच्चा भी इस तरह का हमें घर बना कर दे देगा. तो चाहे वो घर खाली पड़े हैं, चाहे वहाँ पे कोई नहीं रह रहा, पेरेंट्स ही रह रहे हैं, बच्चे तो बाहर हैं, पर फिर भी जो आसपास की कम्युनिटी है उसके लिए एक इंस्पिरेशन हो जाती है.
तो इससे सोशो इकोनॉमिक कॉन्फ्लिक्ट आपने देखा है कि ये हो रहा है?
एग्जैक्टली. अगर आप ये देखते हो, इट्स एन अलार्मिंग सिचुएशन. अगर आप इसको एजुकेशन के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से ही देखते हो कि हम जितने बच्चों को पढ़ा रहे हैं सब बाहर जा रहे हैं, तो एक टाइम आएगा यहाँ पे रह कौन जाएगा. Since I was there, I would share my incident कि when after doing my masters, I had a fire accident. So I also had this option कि मैं बाहर जा सकती थी, या मेरे पेरेंट्स को उस टाइम पे लगता था कि बाहर चले जाए तो ठीक है कि ये अच्छा सेटल हो जाएगी, यहाँ पे ये अच्छा नहीं सेटल हो पाएगी. They also had this notion, but I proved it wrong. कि अगर आप हार्ड वर्क यहाँ पे करते हो तो आप क्यों नहीं अच्छा सेटल हो सकते हो. आप अच्छा सेटल हो सकते हो, क्यों बाहर भागने की ज़रूरत है. ये जो एक, और स्पेशली अमंग द गर्ल्स आई से कि जब बात करो तो हमेशा ये सुनने को मिलता है कि NRI मुंडा मिल जाए, बस NRI मुंडा. क्यों आप इतने कैपेबल क्यों नहीं हो कि आप खुद उस पोजीशन पे हो, इकोनॉमिकली इतने अपलिफ्टेड हो, इतने बैलेंस्ड हो कि आपको किसी की हेल्प या किसी की सपोर्ट की ज़रूरत ही ना पड़े. ऐसा एटीट्यूड क्यों नहीं है? ये एटीट्यूड मिस होता जा रहा है. व्हेन वी वर ग्रोइंग वी न्यू दिस थिंग कि हमारे पेरेंट्स के पास पीछे कुछ नहीं है. हमें अपने आप को, अगर हमें जो कंफर्ट्स हैं जो हम अभी इंजॉय करें. अगर इन फ्यूचर हमें वो कंफर्ट्स चाहिए तो वी हैव टू वर्क हार्ड फॉर दैट. इट्स नॉट दैट आई वुड गेट इट ईजिली कि मुझे किसी अमीर घर में शादी हो जाएगी तो आई वुड गेट ऑल दोज कंफर्ट्स.
In the academic field, how much do you see women going forward in Punjab? And is there scope for women to excel, to succeed?
That depends upon person to person. How a woman in Punjab, especially if you go in the villages, बहुत बार ऐसा देखने को मिल रहा है कि जो villages में girls हैं जो बाहर study visa पे जा रही हैं, they don't see कि वो क्या सब्जेक्ट चूज़ कर रही हैं. सिर्फ उनको ये होता है कि 2 साल 3 साल के लिए स्टडी वीज़ा मिल जाए, उसके बाद कहीं वहाँ पे जॉब कर लेंगे, थोड़े टाइम की एक्सटेंशन मिल जाए एंड सम हाउ दे गेट परमानेंट ओवर देयर. बट वहाँ पर भी जाके अगर वो एजुकेशन को फोकस नहीं करती हैं, दे आर नॉट सेटलिंग वेल, तो वो वहाँ पे भी क्या हो रहा है, वहाँ पे वो ऐसे जॉब्स ले रहे हैं जिसमें हार्ड वर्क है. हार्ड वर्क इन द सेंस मे बी दे आर वर्किंग इन द स्टोर्स, मे बी दे आर वर्किंग इन द रेस्टोरेंट्स. बहुत कम ऐसे बच्चे हैं जो करियर ओरिएंटेड है. दैट करियर इन ओरिएंटेशन इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट कि आप बाहर जा रहे हो, अगर आप पढ़ने जा रहे हो तो यू शुड बी फोकस्ड, यू शुड बी करियर ओरिएंटेड. आपने इसलिए नहीं जाना है कि आपने पैसे कमाने जाना है, आपने इसलिए जाना है कि आपने एजुकेशन लेनी है. और आप ये भी सोच कर चलते हो कि हो सकता है मैं एजुकेशन लेकर वापस भी आ जाऊँ.
You were talking about your personal story,
Yeah.
that you had an accident. So could you tell us more about what happened to your hands and how it happened?
Yeah, long back when I was doing my masters in Punjab University, so I had just completed my masters and I had gone for my UGC exam, and in the meantime I bought a heater and I had no clue how to use it, and somehow my skirt, corner of my skirt touched that heater, and unfortunately I could not make an immediate decision what to do. I was shouting and by that time that fire was coming up, so I just tried to extinguish that fire with my hands, and that synthetic skirt that all was on my hands, so I got deep burns with that. And unfortunately my left hand fingers all were amputated by that time. So I was just 21, 22. It was an unfortunate incident, but that taught me that I was from a well-off family. Both my mother and my father were working and my brothers were working. So I also had two options at that time, because I was completely dependent on my mother, be it going to a washroom, be it eating. हर छोटा छोटा काम जो है वो मेरे मदर देख रहे थे मेरा. तो मेरे पास भी उस टाइम पे दो ऑप्शंस थी. एक ऑप्शन थी जिसमें मैं बात करूं कि मैं घर पे बैठ सकती थी कि नाउ आई एम योर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, यू हैव टू टेक केयर ऑफ़ मी, बिकॉज मैं अब कुछ नहीं कर सकती. दूसरी ऑप्शन थी फाइट बैक करना. फाइट बैक करने में आई टुक ऑलमोस्ट एन ईयर टू लर्न how to write in one single line, because all my fingers are not working, only my thumbs are working. So it was very difficult for me to cope up and to learn how to write one single line. So I kept practicing, and the moment I realized that yes, now I can write, then I appeared for my exams and cleared my UGC, and then I got my PhD entrance test, and then I enrolled for PhD. And for PhD also it was a big task, because when I used to go to a library, आप एक पेज उठाना या एक पेज पलटना बड़ी इजीली उसको पलट लेते हो, बट मेरे लिए वो एक बहुत बड़ा टास्क था कि मुझे जब पढ़ना है तो मुझे जो नेक्स्ट पेज टर्न ओवर करना है वो मेरे लिए शायद सबसे बड़ा टास्क था. उसके बाद देन आई वॉज स्टेइंग इन द हॉस्टल. तो एक नॉर्मल लाइफ से एक डिफरेंटली एबल्ड लाइफ में आना, अपने आप को समझाना, सोसाइटी को फेस करना, देन देयर आर क्वेश्चंस, ओह व्हाट हैपेंड, या देन यू हैव समटाइम्स रिएक्शंस की जो आपको फेस से ऐसे लग जाता है कि ओहो what has happened with her. तो वो सब चीज़ों को फेस करना, एक मेंटल ट्रॉमा. एवरीवेयर whenever I go I have questions कि अरे ये क्या हुआ, how it happened. तो वो जो ट्रॉमा एवरी टाइम आई हैड टू डिस. नाउ आई एम हैबिचुअल ऑफ इट. मुझे बुरा नहीं लगता है कि अगर मुझे इसको, इनफैक्ट आई मेक इट अ हैबिट कि जब भी सेशन शुरू होता है, जो इनिशियल क्लासेस होती हैं, उसमें मैं ये इंसिडेंट्स जो है ज़रूर शेयर करती हूँ. बिकॉज फॉर मी इट इज़ लाइक अ मोटिवेशन फॉर मैनी, कि वो जो बच्चे जो आज ये सोच रहे हैं कि हम बाहर चले जाएं, हम इजी वे आउट ढूंढ ले सक्सेस का, तो सक्सेस का वे जो है वो इजी आउट कभी भी नहीं होता. हो सकता है मेरे ये जो स्टोरी शेयर करने से या इंसिडेंट शेयर करने से बहुत बच्चे ऐसे होंगे जो मोटिवेट हो सकते हैं. क्योंकि देखो, मुझे लगता है डिफ़िकल्टीज़ हर एक की लाइफ में है, प्रॉब्लम्स हर एक की लाइफ में है, बी इट फाइनेंशियल प्रॉब्लम, बी इट हेल्थ इश्यूज़, और बी इट एनी काइंड. ईजी लाइफ तो किसी की भी नहीं है, बट द थिंग इज़ कि एटीट्यूड कैसा लेके चलना है, किस तरह से फाइट बैक करना है. दैट इज़ वॉट आई डिसाइडेड कि आई हैव टू फाइट. आई डोंट वांट टू डिपेंड ऑन माई फैमिली कि वो लुक आफ्टर करें, कब तक पेरेंट्स होंगे. देन वो जो चीज़ें थी जो हॉन्ट करती थी, अगर हर लड़की वो चीज़ अपने दिमाग में लेकर चले कि आई डोंट वांट टू डिपेंड ऑन माई हस्बैंड, आई डोंट वांट टू डिपेंड ऑन माई पेरेंट्स फॉर मनी, फॉर माई फाइनेंशियल नीड्स, तो शायद मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि इतनी एम्पावरमेंट हो जाएगी वुमेन की कि हम सोच भी नहीं सकते. एक सिर्फ एटीट्यूड है जिसको हमें चेंज करना है या लेकर आना है. सो आई डोंट माइंड, आई शेयर विद एवरी बैच दिस इंसिडेंट्स कि शायद मेरे इस इंसिडेंट्स को शेयर करने से बहुतों को मोटिवेशन मिलेगी.
So are there times when you feel that I'm more than my accident?
In the sense?
In the sense that when you start teaching, like you said, that people ask you that the first thing. So do you feel कि हर बारी वही बात क्यों बतानी पड़ती है?
नहीं, अर्लियर आई हैड दिस थिंग कि बिकॉज जब आप बताते हो तो आप पूरा उस ट्रॉमा में चले जाते हो ना. तो शुरू में मुझे ऐसा लगता था कि ओहो कोई ना पूछे, और फिर मुझे हेजिटेशन होती थी पब्लिक प्लेसेस पे जाने की, बिकॉज मुझे लगता था कि पब्लिक प्लेसेस पे यूजुअली ऐसा होता है कि सवाल पूछे जाएंगे एंड आई अगेन हैव टू गो इनटू. बट व्हेन आई डिसाइडेड कि नो, आई हैव टू फाइट बैक, एंड देन आई चोज दिस प्रोफेशन टीचिंग, क्योंकि मुझे लग रहा था कि यूथ जो है हमारा वो एक बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट सेक्शन ऑफ द सोसाइटी है. उनको मोटिवेशन भी चाहिए, उनको एक दिशा चाहिए दिखाने के लिए. तो मुझे लगा कि वॉट एवर हैज़ हैपेंड, आई हैव एक्सेल्ड, तो क्यों ना उनके लिए वो एक इंस्पिरेशन और एक मोटिवेशन बना जाए, ताकि हो सकता है मेरे इस छोटे से एफर्ट से बहुत से ऐसे बच्चे या स्टूडेंट्स होंगे जो अपनी लाइफ में करियर ओरिएंटेड हो जाएंगे या मोटिवेट होंगे इस इंसिडेंट्स को सुन के. सो आई डोंट माइंड शेयरिंग. और अब मुझे इतना फील, बिकॉज वॉट आई फील इज़ कि शायद कई बार होता है कि कोई चीज़ें ब्लेसिंग इन डिस्गाइज. मुझे लगता है मे बी अगर मैंने मास्टर्स की होती, बाय दैट टाइम आई वुड हैव गॉट मैरिड, और शायद मैं जो आज जिस पोजीशन पे पहुंची हूँ शायद मैं उस पोजीशन पे ना होती. तो मुझे कहीं ना कहीं लगता है ये चीज़ कि अगर कोई बुरा वक्त या बुरा टाइम आता है, इट टीचेज यू एंड इट ब्रिंग्स यू समवेयर एल्स. कि मुझे लगता है शायद आज एक्सीडेंट ना हुआ होता, शायद उस टाइम पे मेरी भी इतनी डीप सोच ना होती, और आज मैं जहाँ हूँ मैं वहाँ पर शायद ना होती.
Tell me, when we talk about women in Punjab, is there a place for women to succeed in every field, or is there a bias against women in Punjab?
If you go by the records or the census reports, if I talk back of 80s and 90s, so what I found was कि एजुकेशन में गर्ल्स आ तो रही थी, बट जो पेरेंट्स थे दैट वर एडमेंट इन ओनली इन टीचिंग प्रोफेशन, नॉट इन एनी अदर प्रोफेशन. सो वी डोंट फाइंड मच इंजीनियर्स, वी डोंट फाइंड मच डॉक्टर्स और एनी अदर in technical works. But now 90s and 2000 onwards, we see there, if I see in my class at present age, I have more girl population in my class as compared to boys. Rest in even in the technical courses also, be it doctors, be it engineers, we have seen that biasness is going. Like girls are also coming in technical profession. It's not that there are only boys in some professions. सिर्फ boys ही doctors हैं, boys ही engineers हैं, boys ही lawyers हैं. No, women is excelling in every field. If I see these things, I think that yes, there is development, there is change coming. It's not that static society which was way back in 70s, 80s or before partition.
Right. Could you tell me a little bit about how the partition, the aftermath of the partition, how did it affect the society of Punjab and of Amritsar?
If we talk about partition, and you see the book of Khushwant Singh, he very clearly writes कि जो सिख नोशन है, that is हिंदूस को हिंदुस्तान मिल गया, मुस्लिम्स को पाकिस्तान मिल गया. सफ़रर्स कौन थे? द सिख्स. क्यों सफ़रर्स थे? क्योंकि जो वेस्ट पंजाब का एरिया था, दैट वाज अ वेरी फर्टाइल लैंड, एग्रीकल्चरल लैंड थी, जहाँ पे जो सिख्स जो रह रहे थे वहाँ पे उनके पास लार्ज ट्रैक्ट्स थे जो लैंड के. और जब वो यहाँ पर ईस्ट पंजाब में आते हैं तो उनको उतना, जब हम रीसेटलमेंट की बात करते हैं तो उनको उतनी लैंड नहीं मिल पा रही है. मोर ओवर जो यहाँ से मुस्लिम्स शिफ्ट कर रहे हैं वेस्ट पंजाब में, उनकी जो पॉपुलेशन है वो कम है एज़ कम्पेयर टू सिक्स जो ईस्ट पंजाब शिफ्ट कर रहे हैं वेस्ट पंजाब से. तो रीसेटलमेंट के इश्यूज़ है, रीऑर्गेनाइजेशन या रीसेटलमेंट में डिफ़िकल्टी आ रही है. तो सिक्स को लग रहा है कि वो जो एग्रीकल्चरल लैंड जो फर्टाइल थी वो वहाँ वेस्ट पंजाब में छोड़ आए हैं. दूसरा वो बात करते हैं कि जब हम सिख श्राइन्स की बात करते हैं तो बहुत सी सिख श्राइन्स हैं जो कि वेस्ट पंजाब में या पाकिस्तान में रह गई. तो बहुत सा ऐसा लिटरेचर है जो वहाँ पे है. और एज अ रिसर्चर, हर एक रिसर्चर इस चीज़ को फील करता है कि शायद ये पार्टीशन ना होता तो थिंग्स वुड हैव बिन डिफरेंट. तो मुझे लगता है कि पार्टीशन में जो सिख्स हैं या पंजाबीज़ हैं, उन्होंने अपार्ट फ्रॉम अबडक्शन, अपार्ट फ्रॉम रेप, एवरीथिंग दे सफर्ड. एंड अनदर थिंग विच आई would like to talk about the Dalit section of the society, the partition narratives or the violence that has happened. वो जितने भी narratives हैं उनमें जो lower section of the society है उनके literature पे बात नहीं की जाती. जब आप archival materials देखते हो तो आपको ये पता चलता है कि उनकी evacuation, जो उनकी evacuation reports हैं, वो कहते हैं कि they were last to be evacuated. सो व्हेन दे वर लास्ट टू बी इवैक्यूएटेड, क्योंकि पार्टीशन के टाइम पे जब मूवमेंट्स हो रही थी तो ये जो कम्युनिटी है, क्योंकि ये फाइनेंशियली वेल ऑफ नहीं है, इसके पास लैंड नहीं है, तो इसके ऊपर कोई ध्यान ही नहीं दे रहा कि इनको भी इवैक्यूएट करना है. सेकेंडली, जो पाकिस्तान की सरकार थी वो नहीं चाहती थी कि मीनियल्स यहाँ से छोड़ कर जाएँ, क्योंकि उनको लगता था कि जो म्यूनसिपैलिटी का काम है या जो मीनियल वर्क्स हैं वो कौन करेगा अगर ये लोग भी चले जाएंगे. तो हमें ऐसे बहुत सी लेटर्स मिलती हैं जिनमें हमें इन चीज़ों का रेफरेंस मिल रहा है कि जो लोअर सेक्शन ऑफ द सोसाइटी है वो इन पार्टीशन नैरेटिव्स में कहीं ना कहीं मिसिंग है. Another thing I would like to here mention is then there's also a letter by a girl, a young girl of 17-18 years. She is in a dilemma. Dilemma किस चीज़ का है उसको, कि उसको समझ नहीं आ रही है कि पठान्स जब उसको एबडक्ट करते हैं, उसकी फैमिली, उसके पेरेंट्स को मार दिया जाता है. शी हैज़ अ सिस्टर हु इज़ 3-4 years old, और उसको जब इवैक्यूएट किया जाता है तो उससे पूछा जाता है कि यू वांट टू रिमेन इन वेस्ट पंजाब और यू वांट टू मूव इन ईस्ट पंजाब. सो शी इज़ इन अ डिलेमा. वो कहती है जितना एलियन मेरे लिए ये देश आज बन गया है, उतना ही एलियन देश मेरे लिए या एलियन स्टेट ईस्ट पंजाब भी है. मैं वहाँ किसी को नहीं जानती हूँ, मैं वहाँ जाकर करूँगी भी क्या. ऐसी बहुत सी स्टोरीज़ और नैरेटिव्स हैं जिन पे अभी जो कि मिसिंग है रिसर्च में, जिन पे काम किया जा सकता है.
But are people talking about it? Because there are many people, they don't like to talk about what happened then. Of course, partition museum है, अब narratives बाहर निकल रही हैं, but almost one whole generation did not want to talk about the trauma and didn't want to talk about it क्योंकि बहुत emotional बात थी, let alone dealing with the injustices of what happened at that time.
I agree with you, but now people are coming out. People are talking about it. If I would share an instance, last year मेरे ताया जी थे, he was from मुल्तान. तो जब तक यंग थे ही नेवर डिस्कस्ड अबाउट पार्टीशन. हम ही ऑलवेज यूज टू टॉक कि हमारे मुल्तान में ऐसा होता था, हमारे मुल्तान में वैसा होता था, वहाँ लाइफ ऐसी थी. बट ही नेवर डिस्कस्ड एनीथिंग कि पार्टीशन में किस तरह से वो माइग्रेट हुए. बट एट द एज ऑफ 94 आई रियलाइज्ड कि अब वो उस ट्रॉमा में थे. एट टाइम्स ही यूज्ड टू क्राई अ लॉट कि मैं अपने भाई को वहाँ छोड़ आया, वो मेरे पीछे पीछे भाग रहा था, मैं उसको छोड़ आया, जैसे कज़न्स. तो एंड ही यूज्ड टू फील कि वो जो चीज़ें हैं जिनको उन्होंने कभी डिस्कस नहीं किया, वो जो ट्रॉमा जिसमें से वो निकल रहे थे पूरी लाइफ, कभी डिस्कस नहीं किया. धीरे धीरे मैंने देखा एट द एज ऑफ 94 ही वॉज कमिंग आउट कि
50-60 साल के बाद.
तो ऐसा नहीं है क्योंकि इट्स अ लॉन्ग स्पैन ऑल्सो. और लोग शायद सुनकर भी थोड़ा सा हो जाता है, करेज आ जाता है जब दूसरों की स्टोरीज सुनते हैं या पढ़ते हैं, तो पीपल ओपन अप ऑल्सो. तो ऐसे बहुत से नरेटिव्स हैं जो अब रिकॉर्ड हो रहे हैं पार्टीशन पे, पार्टीशन रिगार्डिंग वायलेंस पे, बहुत से नरेटिव्स अब आ रहे हैं.
तो उससे once these narratives come out in the open, then the historical facts also change, right? Because
Exactly.
they're lived experiences. So the history that has been written, that may need to be rewritten in many parts.
Yes, of course. Because another instance I would share is कि जब वो आ रहे थे यहाँ पर, तो he said कि जब हम ट्रेन में आ रहे थे तो हमें जो बचाने वाला था उस टाइम पे वो एक मुसलमान फ़ौजी था. कि मुसलमान फ़ौजी ने हमें बोला कि वहाँ पे राइटिंग हो रही है. एक टांगे वाला जो हमें स्टेशन तक छोड़ने आया था, तो वो हमें उस जगह पे लेकर जा रहा था जहाँ पर राइटिंग हो रही थी. तो ही सेड कि मेरे साथ मेरी कज़न भी थी, मेरी सिस्टर भी थी. तो दैट टांगा वाला वॉज टेकिंग अस टू द प्लेस वेयर राइटिंग वॉज हैपनिंग. तो वहाँ पर एक जो मुसलमान फ़ौजी था उसने टांगे वाले को डांटा कि इनको गलत रास्ते क्यों लेके जा रहे हो, वहाँ पे राइटिंग हो रही है, इनको दूसरी तरफ से लेकर जाओ. तो ही सेड कि मुझे लगा कि अगर शायद वो फ़ौजी मुझे हमें ये गाइडेंस ना देता या उस टांगे वाले को ना डांटता तो शायद आज हम यहाँ आ भी ना पाते. तो देयर आर स्टोरीज दैट आर कमिंग आउट. ऑब्वियसली हिस्ट्री इज़ चेंजिंग एवरी टाइम. जैसे जैसे नए फैक्ट्स आते हैं हिस्ट्री बदलती रहती है. हिस्ट्री रिपीट्स इटसेल्फ ऑल्सो. ऐसा नहीं है कि हम कहेंगे कि आज जो रिसर्च हो गई ये फाइनल रिसर्च है. इट कीप्स ऑन चेंजिंग.
When we did the recording this podcast, before coming here also, there are many people who have apprehensions about safety and security in Punjab. Many fears also that, the 80s era of Khalistan movement, of secession, ये सब फिर उठ रहा है. And then of course you hear about even the chief minister saying that 200,000, 250,000 people are going to migrate. And then there was the Amritsar incident. So there are law and order. There were blasts in this city also. So there's the whole thing that it doesn't see for education to foster, for jobs, industry, everything. Peace is important. Unless there is peace, unless there is harmony, industry doesn't work, education doesn't prosper, culture doesn't go forward. Do the youth, because you deal with young students all the time, do the youth feel that they've been let down by the leaders, they've been let down by the country's planners in any way?
What I feel is, if I go by the data, I was just looking at the NCRB data also, where I was seeing crime against women. For example, if it is rape, if it is cruelty by the husband, if it is abduction, if it is kidnapping, that is less in Punjab as compared to other states. If you go by the data, it can be of two way. Either that is not recorded, or either it is recorded. And because whenever you see news also, you always hear the rape cases in UP, Bihar, Delhi. You hardly hear cases of gang rape in Punjab. I have never come across till now gang rape cases in Punjab. So I feel that position of women in Punjab regarding safety is better as compared to the other states. Rest the patriarchal structure is there, that we cannot deny it completely also कि yes there is patriarchal structure. अगर आप यही महाराष्ट्र में चले जाते हो, पुणे चले जाते हो, girls are going out at 8, 9 or 12, that scenario is missing in Punjab for safety reasons or the patriarchal structure. Yes, safety issues are there, but still if you see at the crime rate, that is quite less in Punjab as compared to the other state. Even the Haryana and the Rajasthan, which are the bordering states, if you see the crime, yes, of course I talk about the domestic violence that is there in Punjab, because when I was seeing this data of NCRB, I was finding that even there were very less cases of rape, very less cases of abduction or women trafficking, but there were cases of domestic violence or dowry deaths. So some social evils are still persisting. I cannot say that it's completely eradicated. Some social evils are still prevailing, but by that time I think in coming years that would also reduce probably, because the mindset of people are चेंजिंग. पहले गर्ल चाइल्ड को इतनी इम्पोर्टेंस नहीं दी जाती थी, हमेशा होता था मेल चाइल्ड. इवन इफ़ यू गो बैक टू द एंशिएंट स्क्रिप्चर्स ऑल्सो, तो जितनी भी प्रेयर्स होती थी दैट वाज फॉर अ मेल चाइल्ड, कि इतना शक्तिशाली बेटा देना जो हमारी ट्राइब के लिए लड़ सके. अब वो सिनेरियो चेंज होता नज़र आ रहा है. अगर हम इसको सर्वे के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से भी देखते हैं तो बहुत लोग हैं हु आर हैविंग सिंगल गर्ल चाइल्ड और इवन 2 daughters ऑल्सो, एंड दे डोंट अर्ज फॉर अ मेल चाइल्ड कि बेटा हो जाए. जैसे इफ़ यू सी इवन इन द फिल्म्स ऑल्सो, कि पहले की जो मूवीज़ आ रही थी उनमें इन चीज़ों को बहुत प्रोमिनेंस दी.
What about the Punjabi movies, the Punjab film industry movies? Are they representative of this new change that you're talking about?
Yes, of course they are representative of this new change. And also what I feel is important to discuss here is कि पंजाब में जो इशू है अभी, दैट इज़ ऑफ द ड्रग्स, कि जो यूथ है वो ड्रग्स में बहुत इन्वॉल्व हो रहा है. अगर मैं वुमेन की बात करूं तो वुमेन पे इतना क्राइम नहीं है जितना हम देखते हैं कि जो पंजाब है वो ड्रग इश्यूज से जूझ रहा है, या रॉबरी, थेफ्ट या स्नैचिंग, इन चीज़ों से. इफ़ आई एम गोइंग आउट, मुझे ये डर नहीं होता है कि आई वुड बी गैंग रेप्ड, है ना. मुझे ये डर होता है कि somebody would come and snatch my chain, somebody would snatch my purse.
For drugs?
Yeah, for drugs only. तो मुझे लगता है कि इस टाइम पे जो इशू ज़्यादा इम्पॉर्टेंट है जिसको देखना चाहिए, दैट इज़ ऑफ द ड्रग्स.
Women representation politics में बहुत कम है पंजाब में. It's not as much as one would think कि it's a small state. The economy used to be pretty good. Women were seen in education also. Women are strong in their, in expressing their views. लेकिन politically, if you see, they are not there so much in representation as such.
That is because of the patriarchal structure, the male dominance, the male dominated society. That is, I feel that is because of the patriarchal structure that women, in fact women अगर political उसमें आ भी रही हैं स्फेयर में, तो they are backed by their husbands, their brothers or their fathers. It's not that they are independent decision makers.
In what way has the drug menace impacted society? We've been hearing this for more than 5-6 years that it's become bad. We've even reported this continuously that it's the youth is being sucked dry because of this menace. As a woman who works in a city, how do you feel it's affecting you and others?
Definitely it's affecting me and the whole society, because जब हम ड्रग्स की बात करते हैं तो हम ये देख रहे हैं कि यूथ, अगर आज मेरे मन में ये डर है कि मुझे ऑड आवर्स में निकलना है, तो आई हैव टू सी कि माई हस्बैंड इज़ अलॉन्ग विद मी, आई कॉन्ट गो अलोन. इफ़ आई एम गोइंग बैक टू माई होम एंड आई एम ड्राइविंग अलोन, सो माई हस्बैंड हैज़ दिस थिंग कि यू रीच बिफोर सनसेट टू होम, कि अगर पेरेंट्स के घर जाना है तो ऑड आवर्स में नहीं, बिकॉज देर आर लॉट्स ऑफ केसेस यू हेयर ऑफ स्नैचिंग ऑफ कार, स्नैचिंग ऑफ गोल्ड, स्नैचिंग ऑफ पर्स. जब हम इन चीज़ों को देखते हैं तो मन में डर आता है कि दैट इज़ बिकॉज ड्रग्स के कारण ये सारा कुछ हो रहा है. देन वी सी थेफ्ट ऑल्सो, कि थेफ्ट बहुत ज़्यादा हो रहा है. देन देर इज़, वी टॉक अबाउट द गैंग वॉर्स ऑल्सो, देर अनदर द ड्रग menace is there.
तो ड्रग रिलेटेड गैंग वॉर्स एंड ड्रग रिलेटेड थेफ्ट्स हो रही हैं.
थेफ्ट्स हो रही हैं. अब
हाँ.
जब एक बच्चे के पास, एक यूथ के पास पैसा नहीं होगा उस ड्रग को लेने के लिए, तो व्हाट ही वुड डू, ही वुड स्नैच और ही वुड डू अ थेफ्ट. कि वो जो उसको अर्ज है उस ड्रग को लेने की, उसको फुलफिल करने के लिए वो ये तरीके अपनाएगा, डेफिनेटली अपनाएगा. तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है. और दूसरा, जब हम इसको वुमेन के पर्सपेक्टिव से देखते हैं तो हम देखते हैं कि जो वुमेन है, शी इज़ ऑल्सो सफरिंग. कि अगर हस्बैंड ड्रग्स में है, बच्चा होने में प्रॉब्लम हो रही है, बच्चा नहीं पैदा हो रहा है, उसके अलावा क्या है, फैमिली लाइफ डिस्टर्ब हो रही है, ही इज़ नॉट अर्निंग बिकॉज ही इज़ इनटू ड्रग्स. तो क्या है, वुमेन के लिए वो जो प्रॉब्लम है वो डबल हो जाती है. कि शी हैज़ टू लुक आफ्टर द चिल्ड्रन, अगर बच्चा है, अगर बच्चा नहीं है. और कई बार ऐसा होता है कि जो यूथ है ओवरडोज ले लेता है एंड सडनली डेथ हो जाती है. देन द वाइफ इज़ लेफ्ट विद अ चाइल्ड और द वाइफ इज़ लेफ्ट अलोन. कि वो करे क्या, चाहे उसके पास जितना मर्जी पैसा है, बट स्टिल शी इज़ सफरिंग बिकॉज उसके पास एक फैमिली नहीं है. तो ये इश्यूज़ भी हम ड्रग्स के साथ देखते हैं कि वुमेन को अफेक्ट कर रहे हैं.
डू यू फील दैट जो सोसाइटी के लीडर्स हैं, चाहे डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल पे हो, चाहे विमेंस एम्पावरमेंट ग्रुप्स हो, दे नीड टू वर्क ऑन अ वॉर फुटिंग, और इज इट, एंड आर देयर नो प्लान्स अफुट? आप कुछ देख नहीं रही हैं ग्राउंड लेवल पर?
नहीं, ऐसा नहीं कह सकते कि गवर्नमेंट वर्क नहीं कर रही है. गवर्नमेंट वर्क कर रही है कॉन्टीन्यूसली. विलेजेस में इवन अवेयरनेस कैंप्स चलते हैं.
बट इट्स टू लेट.
या अवेयरनेस कैंप्स चल रहे हैं. अवेयरनेस कैंप्स में यूथ को इन्वॉल्व किया जा रहा है, जिनको ये कहा जाता है कि अगर कोई ड्रग्स ले रहा है तो वो इन्फॉर्म किया जाए पुलिस को. इस तरह के विलेज लेवल पे भी काम हो रहा है. बट स्टिल वी नीड टू वर्क ऑन इट. कि यूथ को मोटिवेशन चाहिए, यूथ को एम्प्लॉयमेंट चाहिए. अगर हम ये सब चीज़ें ले आएंगे तो बहुत बार ऐसा हो रहा है कि लोग जो है वो बच्चों को इसलिए भी बाहर भेजना चाहते हैं कि उनके बच्चे ड्रग से बचे रहें. क्यों? क्योंकि बाहर वो उनके लिए वो ड्रग अफोर्ड करना डिफ़िकल्ट होगा. क्यों? क्योंकि बाहर अगर वो वर्क करेंगे तो वो खाएंगे, वो वर्क नहीं करेंगे तो वो खाएंगे नहीं, सर्वाइव कैसे? तो उनको लगता है कि वो इन्वॉल्व रहेंगे इन सब चीज़ों में और शायद ड्रग से दूर रहेंगे. तो बहुत लोगों का अपने बच्चों को बाहर भेजने का एक ये भी रीज़न है कि वो अपने बच्चों को ड्रग से दूर रखना चाहते हैं.
That is kind of a shocking thing that you're telling me. I hope that planners and listeners of Punjab pay heed to this and make a change soon. Thank you so much for being part of this podcast and wishing you all the best in the future.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you NI team also for inviting me for this talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching or listening in to this edition of ANI Podcast with Smita Prakash. Do like or subscribe on whichever channel you have seen this or heard this. Namaste. Jai Hind. Click here to watch the previous episodes.